Okay, so now we're going to talk about the actual application of the law of cosine. So we're going to try to find b, and so we're going to use this version of the law of cosine. So I'm going to say that b squared is going to be equal to side a squared plus c squared minus 2 times ac times the cosine of angle B, and then I use a capital letter for the angle. Okay, and then I go back and fill in the values that I have. So therefore B squared is going to equal A squared. Okay, so if I look at angle A, side A is going to be the side across from angle A, and then again side C is going to be the side across from angle C. So that allows me to fill in A squared as 22 squared plus C squared as 10 squared minus 2 times 22 times 10 times the cosine of angle B, which is the cosine of 44. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is simplify each one of those steps, and so I will get B squared equals, and this is 484 plus 100 minus 440 times the cosine of 44. And again, just continuing to punch this in my calculator until I get to the bottom. So b squared is going to be 584 minus, and it looks like it's going to be 316.51. Um, so therefore I get b squared is equal to 267.49. Remembering that I have to come back and square root those numbers to get b, right? So b is going to be about equal to, and it looks like it's 16.3 round up 36. Okay, so that's how we're going to get that one. Then if I move on and I want to use the same um, concept here, and I'm going to try to get the missing side, but I don't have A, B, and C for this one. So I can, if I want to, I can make this lowercase l, lowercase m, and lowercase n, or I could go ahead and use the side segments as well. So I'm going to start off by saying mn, right, mn squared is going to be equal to lm squared, right, plus ln squared, and then minus 2 times lm times ln times the cosine of angle L. Okay, and that will give me what I'm looking for. So I'll go back and fill in the actual values that I have. And so LM will be 48, so that will be 48 squared, okay, plus 29 squared minus 2 times 48 times 29, and then times the cosine of 104, okay? So we know something interesting with this. When we punch the cosine in of 104, we're actually going to get a negative number, and that's really important to pay attention to so that we can keep everything straight. So if I go ahead and punch this in, I'm going to get 2304 plus 841 minus 2,784 times the cosine of 104. Okay. So when I punch those numbers in, since the cosine of 104 is a negative number, I'm actually going to get plus, right, 673.5 here, and then add those together, and I have 3,145. And again, all of these still equaling mn squared, right? So together mn squared equals, looks like 3818.5. Go back and take the square root of both of those, and mn is going to be about equal to 61, let's see, 61.794, so we'll probably say that's about 61.8. Okay. Okay, so the next example, we are actually going to be looking for angle V. And of course, we have the side that is opposite of angle V. So we're going to go ahead and fill everything in just the same, only we're going to actually have an answer. So we're going to say TU squared, right, which is the side opposite the angle we're looking for, is going to be equal to TV squared plus UV squared minus 2 times TV times UV times the cosine of V. Okay, and then of course we'll fill in the number of values that we have. So TU is 4.4, so we know this is going to be 4.4 squared. Okay, and then TV is going to be 6.7 squared. Okay, and then UV is going to be 7.1 squared, and then we minus 2 times 6.7 times 7.1 times the cosine of angle V. Okay, and then we'll go over here and start filling in the numbers that we have. So if we say that 4.4 squared, I punch that in the calculator, okay, that will give us 19.36 equals, and then 6.7 squared is going to give us 44.89, and then 7.1 squared is going to give us 50.41. And hang on one second, let me move this around. Okay, so then we'll say minus, and then I'll go ahead and multiply 2 times 6.7 times 7.1, and that will give me 95.14, and that will be times the cosine of V. Okay, so I'll add 44.89 plus 50.41, and I got 95.3, and then we're just going to carry this down from before, cosine of V, and then I will go ahead and subtract 95.3 from both sides, and let's see, 19.36 minus 95.3, and that gives me negative 75.94, and that's going to equal negative 95.14, and then times the cosine of V. Okay. Okay, the next step, of course, is going to be divide both sides by negative 95.14. Okay, so divide by negative 95.14, and I will get an answer of 0.7981. Okay, equals the cosine of V. Now, we to divide by the cosine, so basically what we want to do is do the inverse cosine. So V is going to be equal to the inverse cosine of 0.7981. Okay, so I'll say second cosine, and then I'll put 0.7981 in my calculator, and it looks like V is going to be about equal to 37 degrees. So we'll say 37 degrees up here. Now, the next thing we want to know is how can we find angle T? Okay, we'll do the same thing. We're looking for angle T, so that means that we'll use the side across from T as our answer. So the side across from T is 7.1, so we're going to say 7.1 squared equals, and then we're going to use the other two sides, 4.4 squared, and the third side, which is 6.7 squared. Okay, and again, minus 2 times 4.4, right, times 6.7, and then of course the cosine of the missing angle T, which is what we're looking for. And from here, we're just going to go ahead and fill in our values. I already know what all these squared values are. I just have to rearrange them. So 7.1 squared was 50.41, and 4.4 squared was 19.36, and 6.7 squared looks like it was 44.89. Okay, subtract, and I'm going to go ahead and punch this next string in my calculator. So I'll say 2 times 4.4 times 6.7 will give me 58.96, and of course times the cosine of t. So continue to simplify. I'll say 19.36 plus 44.89 gives me 64.25, and again still subtracting 58.96 times the cosine of t, and that will equal 50.41. Next step is going to be to subtract 64.25 from both sides. Okay, and if we say 50.41 minus 64.25, we will get negative 13.84 equals negative 58.96 times the cosine of t. Next step would be to divide both sides by negative 58.96. Okay. So we'll say divided by negative 58.96, and we'll get 0.234, looks like 735. And that's going to be equal to the cosine of t. Okay, so in order to divide by cosine, that's basically what we have to do in order to get t. So we are going to say that t is equal to the inverse cosine, right, of 0.2347. Okay, so punch that in the calculator and we'll say inverse cosine, and the answer is going to be about 76 degrees. Okay, so angle T is about 76 degrees. If we go up here and we'll say, okay, so angle T is about 76 degrees. So we have 76 degrees plus 37 degrees. Okay, that will give us 113 degrees. So it looks like angle U must be what? About 67 degrees. Okay. Now remember, when you're looking for angle measurements, you're going to do the inverse sine, inverse cosine, or inverse tangent. So it makes sense that when we get to the point where we have a decimal and we're looking for a degree, that we use the inverse. When we're looking for a missing side, we use cosine, sine, and tangent. Okay, so once you've gone through this lesson, you should be able to do the practice problems. For this one is a word problem, which we do the same way. We just have to first find this angle. And since these are supplementary angles and this outside angle is 75, then that means that the inside angle must be 105. So we'll say that d squared is equal to 3.5 squared plus 2.1 squared minus 2 times 3.5 times 2.1 times the cosine of what? Angle 105. Okay, and we'll punch all of that into our calculator, and you'll find that D is going to be about equal to 4.5 kilometers. Okay, so punch that in and see if you can successfully get that approximate answer. On this one, it's a little bit different because we're going to start at our campsite, right? And then we're going to say that one group is going to take off due west. So that's going to be completely west. And then one group is going to take off and move southwest. Okay, so we'll say they're moving southwest right here. And they gave us a measurement of how far off southwest they were, off of south, right? So we're going to have to say if we were moving from this direction, we want to say if they were 11 degrees here off of southwest, so if this were 11 degrees, then this right here would be 90 minus 11 degrees. So 90 minus 11 degrees would give us 79 degrees. So we're going to say this value is 79 degrees. We're moving west 1.4 miles, right? And they were moving southwest at 1.9 miles. So the question is, what is that value from here to here? How far apart are we now? So I can say that x squared is equal to 1.4 squared plus 1.9 squared minus 2 times 1.4 times 1.9 times the cosine of angle 79 degrees. Okay, so once you punch that in, you should get that the value of x, okay, is going to be 2.1 miles. Okay, don't forget once you punch all of this in that you're still going to have to square root x squared before you get the value of x. Okay, so you may do odds or evens. Odds will probably be easier because you have the answers and you can double check. And we will review this on Friday after everyone has finished their project. So if you have any questions, let me know. But this is 8.6 law of cosines.